pivot point right now, and we actually got to put some insecticide on through a pivot. We're getting some fields with some western bean cutworm pressure. And so this is basically an insectigator right here, or a chemigation pump. And right now I'm calibrating it. I kind of want it to be a gallon per hour is what I want it to put through this chemigation valve. And so I kind of want this to equal, I'm doing a minute time lapse basically here, just to make sure it's getting pretty close. And when this hits 0, I kind of want this to be at a minute. So that was a minute. So I'm just a little bit short. And so on the side here, these are my settings. I can adjust the stroke of it versus the, what do you call it there? Gallons per hour. So you can kind of fine tune it that way. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is basically calibrating this machine to inject the right amount so we can put some insecticide on through the pivot. And the stuff we're using is bifenthrin and lambda. We're basically making our own version of Hero, which is a kind of a two mode of action insecticide. One kind of kills it and one kind of prevents it. I do document everything just because you should. And so if I use paper, I'll lose it. So I just use an iPad, and I just kind of write down my, I still like to write stuff because it's quicker. I don't know if you can see here, but you can't even really read my handwriting, but at least I'm documenting it. So I like to write the time that I started, the gallons I plan to put on, the rate and whatnot, and just so you have a record of it. And so if you ever get audited or whatever, you got notes. So but I like to use this, will actually sync to the cloud, and that way I don't have to worry about papers blowing out of my pickup and stuff. So I'm gonna write it down and we'll go from there. We got an electric motor on a pivot that we're fertigating that went bad. Actually, it was bad when I started it. So I got a full tank of fertilizer. Instead of waiting on that, I'm gonna pull it out and pull it to another field that we got left to fertigate, which should be the last field other than the one that the motor went bad on. Instead of waiting on all that stuff, I guess I'll pull it over to the other one, get it going, and then once we get that electric motor fixed on the other field, we'll get a new one for that one, basically a new tote of fertilizer. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and then hopefully after I get that done, I'm gonna go back and check on that insectigator that's putting on the insecticide through that one pivot, make sure it's doing what it should be. So that's what I'm heading out now. I probably better not try it. Boy, if that was a Ford or Ram, I don't think I'd ever make it. This is a motor power unit. Man, I really need to get my spray out here, don't I? Anyway, this one's ran off a motor, or this pivot's ran off a diesel engine basically. This right here is the generator that powers the pivot right here. It creates 3-phase power, 480 volts. And so it's basically, boy, these belts are getting dry cracked now that I'm looking at them. But yeah, so that's what this guy does. And so we'll actually utilize that 480 power to go through that comes out of this panel box right here. It's just like every other pivot then. Is how we're deriving our basically how we're deriving our power from to power these pumps, these fertigation pumps. So I'll get that set up. And if you are just first watching this channel, if you go back to my last video, that's basically what I did, was fertigate. I'm just kind of running through what I'm doing today basically. This pivot too is a wiper, meaning it doesn't make a full circle. So it kind of adds to your math on figuring out how much you want to do or how much you want to apply. Basically figuring out the degrees on when it starts and stops. And basically the percentage of a full circle is how you're going to figure out how we do this. But I already have this stuff saved in the AgSense app, and so I can go through and already look at that. And actually, I might have wrote it in the panel box, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. So I'll get this set up. Here's the pump again that will set out over there to pump into that chemigation unit, and we'll go from there. In the middle of a cornfield here, and we got a flat tire situation. I kind of wanted to show you in the videos I had previous. I was talking about those gearboxes that had the lug nuts and the lug bolts. Well, this right here is kind of what they look like. It kind of makes it for a pain in the butt because you got to be able to get, and they definitely got rust. I mean, these been on here since 80s at least, and so they just get stuck on. But now I always told my father-in-law from Iowa, never buy a used four-wheeler from Nebraska because they get used. Smoking. Another thing that kind of stinks about these is there's not even a plate to even try to set them on to rotate. So the bugger by yourself is to get these started perfectly lined up so you can start a lug bolt. I'm going to attempt. Sorry, I forgot my vlog camera though, so I don't have a beautiful stand for it, so you'll just have to take my word for it. It's finished. Holy crap. That took a while. So at least I get a little bit of a trail from all the washing we had this spring.